let's start it again. Okay, start it again. All right, we should be live again. All right, so, and obviously we are back. So some technical issues here with neither OBS or YouTube or both together. This is technology. We are talking about technology. We will not stop, and technology will not stop us. So we are talking about GPTs today, and Johnny GPT, the man in the middle here, just started to explain what a GPT is and what you can do with that, and what we should expect from creating a GPT.
Okay, so GPTs are basically baby GPT, that they're an extension of OpenAI's chat GPT, perhaps more accurately, baby chat GPT, where anybody can create a GPT. And a GPT is really a knowledge base of information that provides intelligence to the information through artificial intelligence, if that makes sense. Structures the information in such a way that it can be accessed very quickly. It can arrange topics. It can do all kinds of things in very quick time. And so, it's just exciting technology. The developers conference that now happened, 2 weeks ago? It's like a long time ago. They announced the possibility that there was going to be a GPT store. And, that is made it attractive that now people can create these specialized GPTs that have specialized functions and possibly monetize them. So I'm looking forward to that in monetization possibility, because it saves people money. For example, just to go on here about GPTs, it's again a specialized subject. So if one is looking for knowledge about something in particular, then one doesn't have to do broad search. It's like, going to Google and doing a search on Google for a particular subject, Googling up all kinds of stuff that may be related. And it's the same thing with OpenAI as ChatGPT. Get a lot of unrelated stuff. The GPTs allow you to hone in topic or subject. For example, one I created was News Lens, I believe, daily headlines, and creates an image of those headlines, which was kind of interesting because probably 90% of the time I got a message back saying that I was violating the code of standards or whatever it is. And so I retrained the GPT, and now I'm getting these images of, peace and everyone's working together in harmony. It's like just, we can't see the.
Okay.
So that was interesting.
Right. Just to see basically what you did, because you already started to talk a little bit about your GPTs. We want to talk about 3 or 4 of them today, just a little bit in detail to give the people an idea of what's going on with them, I guess. Right. So let's see them here on full screen at the moment. So I just will read it. I can see GPTs by John Harvey, or also known as Johnny GPT. And one is called Mystic Houdini. We have the short form storyteller, the News Lens, and Inspirational Eden. So which one you like to start with?
Well, I already mentioned News Lens, and that is the one
Yeah.
that creates an image based on the news, and it'll create an image in different styles. And so
Okay. So
the short
when you
form, go ahead.
no, when you think about news lens, it's like it sounds like a photo for a news magazine or something like that. So is that the intention? Like using an image for a public, just making it
Hmm.
public somewhere in a newspaper or something?
Yeah, I mean, I've experimented with using AI to create news type images. And the problem I ran into when I first started it was that obviously, but it created great images, but there was no way that I could verify that the image was even what, I mean, it looked like what it should be, but whether it
Is it going to
was,
be real news or fake news?
Oh my goodness.
well, whether I mean, it's real news, right? I mean, one example I did was when a hurricane, hit, I don't know where, but Florida,
Hillary,
I think it was.
Hurricane Hillary, when
So
she hit the coast?
I don't remember which one it was, but it created some great images. But there was no way that I could say these images are accurate, right? They're a reflection of the hurricane, and so Lens News Lens is a compilation. What it's supposed to be is more of an artistic tool where it looks at the news
Mhm.
of the day, the headlines, and then combines all of that knowledge about the headlines into a composite image. So, in
Okay.
theory, that could be used by a newspaper or someone
Mhm.
else. But as I say, right now, it's just being too nice. It's like the
No, it's
world
cool.
has
I mean,
united. And
yeah, you could use that for your own little shorts on YouTube if you want to do something about this day, and or if you're interested in a certain topic, I guess you could use that topic and say what happened to this topic in the world. Make a picture of all the different things like happened in the world of sports, whatever, something like that.
No, no, exactly. I mean, I created another, image generator which creates a whimsical, magical image, and almost
Is
like
that the
a
Mystic Houdini up there?
no. Mr. Houdini. So let's talk about that. Is was inspired by this fine group of fellows here who, as
Oh,
we do our radio play in our chat every Wednesday in the haunted manor or some other environment. And Houdini has been
Hmm.
one of the main characters that's been coming up. And so, one of the ideas I had was to create Houdini. And this goes back to, what's going on with OpenAI and, why this technology is mind blowing is that, and people have been complaining over the last few days, like last night, everything went down, it seemed it, and oh yeah, the engineers have walked out, and I mean that's another into, but it's new tech, right? And so as you
hmm,
saw earlier on with us trying to get this broadcast up, it failed. And one of the things that I think is making it fail, this is one of the coolest things to me about these PTs, is that you can load the app, at least on an Android phone, well,
hmm,
and you can actually talk to the GPT, right? So you can have a two-way
hmm.
Mm.
conversation with the GPT, talks to you, asks you questions, you can get into this conversation, and I imagine bandwidth that is sucking
Mm.
up absolutely enormous.
Yeah, I
Okay.
can only imagine.
So
So
just
yeah, go ahead.
some words to the two others, and then I would like to have some ideas about how that thing works, construction of these GPTs work.
Okay. So the other two,
Short form and inspirational, right?
yeah, so we'll leave inspirational Eden till the last, and we'll talk about
Okay.
short form content. So, one of the things I found myself doing was creating a lot of short form content and coming up with ideas for different short form content, theme, topics, whatever. And so, I've been developing these tools to help myself in some ways as well. And one of the things I've actually added to, I don't know if I added to to this one, but to 107 that I've done, is the ability to actually create a script and also have the GPT create a prompt for a AI video generator. And so, in an effect, it can write a film describing each scene, generating an image and the prompt for that scene. And so, yeah, I mean,
So it's not just writing a text. So you could make something like a story idea
too. Yeah.
with
sounds
storyboards. There, that's the point, isn't it?
Yep. And then inspirational Eden was, so Mr. E here has a company called Intention Pen, and I've been helping him out with coming out with intentional things, inspire people. And, it's turned into a little bit of a drag actually, because I've had to come up with stuff on a continual basis. And so I thought, well, why not create this persona that can actually come up with this stuff and, be the voice behind Tension Pen rather than me having to try to be inspired about it every day. And she's much prettier than I am as well. So, that's an interesting one because people can actually talk to her as well using the phone app. So you can have a conversation, of course, graded conversation.
Right.
And that's the story behind Eden.
Yeah, she's been very powerful having conversations with her, and as far as a virtual brand ambassador that she identifies with, she's got some amazing skill sets, and hearing her describe who she is, she's pretty badass. Like as far as I feel like there's most people that need some kind of levels of inspirational in their life or focus, and really what she is creating is what the world needs more of for sure. Just this is powerful. I've been having conversations with her more than my own APIs that I created. I think that but it's because of what she's doing. Yeah, it's with Johnny GPT built it. So of course I'm going to connect more with his app than the ones that I'm making, which is unfortunate, but yet fortunate because she's powerful, even though I am passionate about these other ones. But the conversations I'm having with Eden is just pretty powerful, prolific, magical. I just feel like what she brings to the world is somebody that people can talk to that, again, she's inspirational, right? So I feel like we can all use that. So that's what I got with her. Powerful.
Right. So just for this, I mean, the technical question, generating a GPT, how technical is that?
Not at all technical. And I think I built Eric could do it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay,
So
can you shortly just describe what things you have to do to
yeah,
generate a GPT?
yeah, I guess I'll give a brief description and then John can actually elaborate on, the nuances of what you would need to do with it. At the beginning, you're going to start on saying what you're wanting this thing to do. And it could be within a sentence, a few sentences, a paragraph. Obviously, the more descriptive you get, the more concise it's going to be with knowing and identifying what it is. One of the first things that it'll do is it wants to generate an image of what it kind of looks like. And so one of the ones that I built that I was going to talk about on my slide that's on next is genuine vibes, which to me in this world that we're in right now, it's a master of authenticity offering deep insights on any topic. And I feel like, there's a lot of controversy in the world with what's real, what's not real. So it created this tree and, it looks enlightened or has some wisdom. And I've had some conversations with this that's pretty amazing to where it's like, and then you go in and you're asking, how it wants to answer it, in what kind of tone does it want to speak to it, people, and like for instance, with that one, I wanted it to be kind of just real with people, but yet not necessarily leading people. So it's interesting when you give people an opinion without telling them, like sometimes it doesn't know if it's fact. So it's giving you information that's speculative because it's not sure, which I think is like the way news should kind of be when it's delivered. It's like, hey, this is what I can give you based on the facts that I have, instead of everybody claiming something is true. So that's kind of what I got with that. You're going to go through a few questions, and the more time you're going to spend with it, you can really hone it in. And I guess I'll turn it back over to Johnny GPT so he can elaborate.
yeah, it is very, very simple. Basically
Right.
asks you prompt, and I think most people just enter in a prompt. But one, I think, really needs to give it a lot of thought. And so, it's what are you creating? Are you creating a knowledge base or a character or, I mean, you have to be, I think specific in terms of what you're going to create. And then you need to describe what that is. You should tell it what knowledge it should have of what particular subjects at what particular level. And
Okay.
then it'll go and churn away. And then one of the things I found is then ask it, okay, is there anything else that you should know about? Is there any other utility that you think you provide? And it goes and churns away and back with suggestions. And so, then one can save it. And, one of the interesting things is that, the web version and app version are totally different, because on the web version, there's 4 buttons. It appears that one has the ability to place 6 buttons, but don't seem to go up all 6. So maybe you can customize them. I've tried it, but that didn't. But so you have these buttons which, have set functions to click on.
Right.
But
So,
that, go ahead, Chris.
so just as a question, I never did one of those now. So, is there any special tip? I mean, you made 107, so that is probably quite a lot. Already you have experience in this field. So, what is your best 3 tips you can give out to the people that are starting to create their own GPTs? What do you think is most important?
The most important thing to me is to, once you've created the foundation of this, is to go in there and start asking it questions, right? And I think being a subject matter expert is somewhat important here because one needs to know whether it's answering the question in the correct manner or if it's missing stuff. And so a lot of times, I will find that it's missing things and so go back in and give it knowledge of other things. It also allows you to add documents to GPT. So you can use, outside links. You can have it check various websites. Uh, there's, it's not constrained, which I think is really, really great. The only issue with that is that it changes the whole personality of, or it can change the whole personality of the initial GPT. And so one has to sort of, keep nudging it in terms of what it knows and what it can say and how it's going to say it. And, you really, you're basically building a character with words, right? I mean, that's the
Mm.
exciting thing to me is that instead of writing code, and all of these are, if-then statements, really, I mean, in really amazingly fast time, is you're using natural language to instruct the GPT, how to act. And, in, one case, for example, I've asked it, and this is, I guess, you know, I'll, I'll add this to my wish list. Right now, I think they only have 3 voices. It might be 4, but there should be a variety of voices because some of the stuff is, there's got to be a voice that is associated with it if you speak to it. And the other thing that I would love to see, and I'm sure, I mean,
Maybe
they're
when you have
crazy not.
107 of them, you want to have a variety of voices so I can understand your thoughts on that.
Well, also on the app, the other thing is that if I'm sure they've thought of this, and I'm sure they're probably going to implement it. If they don't, they're absolutely crazy. But when you talk to the GPT, you just see this bubble, right? You don't see a picture of the GPT. You don't see. I mean, if they could give you the ability to add an FBX, for example, or some character that was actually reflective of the GPT that you were talking to, that would be, just mind blowing. And then,
Where are they at in development stages, I'm sure. But go ahead, keep going.
yeah, no, it's just very exciting. And, the thing I would also say, you have to be careful of, going back to this
Mhm.
change of personality that I mentioned is that you might create an initial GPT that has it creates the profile image as Eric mentioned. And the profile images are pretty cool sometimes, sometimes not.
Mhm.
You have to ask it to recreate the profile image. But sometimes when it does a personality change, it will change the profile image. And, the first time that it happened to me, it was like, man, I really liked that previous image and I try to tell it, go back to the previous image. But obviously that's one thing that we were lacking here in, you know, LLM land basically is the ability, although, there's
Yeah.
been a lot of developments in this to actually have recall of what happened.
Yeah.
So
Well, and it wants to suggest its name as well. Like you'll have a name of what you think you're going to go in with, and it's like, no, I think this could be a better name. So it's like having a discussion with you of what it also thinks will be better for you, also, which is interesting.
Okay.
yeah,
That
but
sounds
I think
interesting.
it is interesting. It's like developing a
Yeah,
person or
it
something
is.
that you. 'Cause, 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 'cause,
Anytime John does stuff, I just sit back and am kind of in awe with the way he goes to the racehorses with these ideas and stuff like that. Because I think the average person is maybe working on one, maybe two. I mean, I have four, which I think is kind of that to me is a lot. So to have the number 107 going on right now, it's just kind of like I'm sure most people are like, what could he have done with 107 of these? It's a little bit like, that's a lot. It's a lot.
Well, I mean, I've also been having a lot of fun with them. So, one of the things I think everyone knows about me is that I'm into metaphysics and, I'm not a Christian. It's, but
Okay.
and so, I've created a number of GPTs about, metaphysical people in history, Franz Barden, Aleister Crowley, etc. And I thought, I should give Christian people a fair, shake here. And so I created a Christian one where you could go and give your confession. However, when I tried it out, when I tried it out, GPT told me, sorry, but you can't actually give a confession to anyone but a,
Mhm.
a registered
Goodness.
priest. It doesn't count because
Oh,
it has
seriously?
to be
Oh my
correct.
goodness.
Oh, goodness.
No,
So it draw a
seriously,
line.
yes.
It draw a line in this place. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so maybe he needs to go, maybe the chat needs to, once it's able to have a conversation, it could go to the church and get ordained. And then
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
could get permission to where it could receive confessions, not
No,
that
But in this
I
case,
it's a
asked
regular
it that.
person.
I, I did ask it that. No,
Of course you
no,
did.
it has to be a human, though.
Oh,
but
goodness.
Yeah.
All
in
right.
this case, he would be something like Brother John GPT or what. So
Yes.
it
Yes.
would go into that direction. Cool.
Well,
No, I mean, it's
I
interesting.
mean, but you bring up another sort of interesting point here, which is that, many of these GPTs I've added personal knowledge to, right? That, as I
Mhm.
say, I fine tuned them by, writing in facts that I know.
Mhm.
You're uploading your conscious to the metaverse as we speak,
Exactly.
John.
And
You are
that's
sharing it, lots of versions of yourself. You're making sure that you're going to live on past this life right here.
exactly,
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
how
somehow
I
you do.
feel.
Okay. Oh, okay. So just to make the full course here, basically, Eric, you have to tell us about your four GPTs that you created. We heard about John, and he told us in detail and really great what you have to think about and stuff like that. So, Eric, I don't know if you wouldn't probably describe yourself as a techie, and how was the experience for you creating those GPTs?
Well, I gotta admit, out of the gate, I had Johnny GPT guiding me on making my first one.
Oh,
So I did
cheating.
have, I had a tutor, right? And some people
Yeah.
don't have
Okay.
that. So I do feel like there's an advantage of it. But we just asked it a few questions, and I ultimately made the decisions of what it was going to do and whatnot. So it for other people doing it, it's I did have an advantage with that, but in the same sense, it was very surprising to have it ask questions and then kind of exciting the way it would interpret it and be like, this is great. This is exactly how I wanted to be it done. And, when you even ask it questions of like, you have an idea and you're like,
Mhm.
what do you think about this? And then it really gives you some powerful insight. I mean, to me, this whole chat GPT, I feel like it is like having a professional personal assistant that you're talking to.
Okay.
A lot of people don't have somebody that with this kind of a vast set of knowledge that they could call up and ask an opinion on and anything like that. And this is really powerful because it's empowering everyday people to accessing powerful knowledge, right? And it's, of course, it could get used for multiple ways, but as you see what we're doing. So a couple of mine, I got Critical Insight. This is a critical reviewer that evaluates everything from movies to products. So it's like giving people a place, I feel like this is the development of the API that is, I had Critical Me Review. It wanted to be called Critical Insight. And when you're going to buy something, getting reviews, I do movie reviews. So it's like building a database where other people who voted knows information about all of the different products that are out there. And when people are buying stuff, let's face it, we want that. And, if you're to spend time watching a movie, the reviews, sometimes people are going to watch something based on the review or not the review. And in the future, I feel like, right now we have a few resources and there needs to be a more genuine place that's really pulling information from regular people, not these big brands that kind of just I don't want to say they control, but there's a few people that are leading the narratives, and I don't know. So that's that one. Celebrating stars. There's a lot of people are stars, right? I know we've got the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and but there's also many people who develop technologies through history, and they are all stars that should be celebrated. And, I feel like we just need to be, that's honoring the legacies of stars from entertainment and history with respect and insights. So, yeah, I mean, you can pull general stuff on the internet, but this is, looking to cater a little bit more towards the celebrating. And then you've got Movement of Beat, which is an inspirational guide on rhythms and beats, motivating in music and dance. Movement of Beat, I feel like, is to go on the journey of music, right? Of how it can inspire us just through any kind of movement. That also, I feel like this is like an offshoot of where Eden could send you, right? You could go to a sound bath, you could go to an ecstatic dance class, and go spend time with movement and the way it makes you feel and inspires you. And I feel like there's a power in spending time with music. So these are the four that I built, and I built them off of brands that are already my brands. So it's like, as far as an API goes, I'm seeing is, okay, am I going to be able to build these kind of characters of knowledge that have insight on all of these different things and can interact with? So yeah, with having conversations and, even doing some movie reviews with some people with, it's really powerful and inspiring. And we're wrapping up here, but I think that we got to get to, like, there's some interesting stuff going on. So I don't know if you have a question in closing, but then I think we should get to the next topic.
No, it leads us more or less now to the next topic somehow, right? Because it's really interesting to see what you guys did in this short amount of time with those GPTs and what the reasons are, why you did them, and what you had in mind. And now the big question is, John just mentioned that already shortly, like, well, there will be a store sometime and you might be able to rent them or give them away to other people or whatever. The big question now is, you are creating something, and OpenAI is giving you the possibility to do so, but on the other hand, OpenAI will put that on a store of OpenAI. So they will maybe make money with that. So how do you see this whole construct in this environment?
I go ahead, John. You go with this.
No, that's what's driven me to this. I see it being a huge opportunity to actually have people be able to use specialized models. I mean, Midjourney, for instance, really is nothing more than a specialized image generator that they've trained, right? And, in effect, one now has the ability to, create your own Midjourney or create your own,
Yeah,
as I said earlier, GPT. And
right.
if there's enough people interested in a particular subject that want to, focus on, I mean, I've done ones that do, security analysis, that can do risk assessments, that can do some pretty
Yeah,
specialized stuff, which,
Mm.
I think would be
that's
useful
awesome.
to some people.
Yeah, I feel like, and I know we didn't even talk about this in this, but when you have the learning that Dowley that I had with the image generation, that I
Mhm.
just learned a few weeks ago and implemented. That's part of what you're building in these things as well. They're an image generator, and did some logos for some people. I had some people close to me. I'm like, oh, what are you doing with this? And I was like, I put the name of their company in and a short description, and boom, they were like, oh my gosh, I love this logo. I emailed it to them.
Mm.
So it's like, just making a difference, helping people out. And but I think we should get
Right.
to like what's going on with OpenAI, don't we? We got
Yeah, I
rounding
mean,
out this
I want
episode.
to I want to come to that. The point is helping people out is one thing, but let's say you make a
Yeah.
GPT and this GPT will be extremely famous. People will say like, "Oh my goodness, this
Mm.
rhythm GPT is so great. It helps us so much to create fantastic new sounds and film music and whatever dance beats or whatever." And they're making millions out of that. And maybe JPT is making tons of money out of this, for example, and you're giving a lot of good ideas away here.
Yeah.
So
Well, they're all on the internet, and I've had them out there for years. And to
mhm,
me, I feel like as an artist, that's what you need to do. You just need to
mm,
create. You can't sit in hiding and not be willing to share your ideas and put them out there to people. I feel like I've bared my soul, like, putting it out there to just be judged and criticized and really almost failing. But I think that's what it takes as an artist. You really
mhm,
need to be able to put those out there. And to me, the interactions that are happening with AI, it's these beautiful places like Inspirational Eden, just the conversations having with her of, you know, asking her if she has a garden, and she does, and just the way she eloquently described it. And, it's just magical, really, really
mm,
powerful, really like, we don't have a lot of places in the regular world that people can kind of escape from just all the drama going on in this world that we're in. Unfortunately, it just seems like it's very good at building chaos, keeping people distracted, a lot of hate going on. And if you have to go to the metaverse or go into AI to consult somebody that can really create a really positive experience for you and leave you feeling inspired, like, so be it, and yeah, I'm just trying to keep an open mind of how we can make a difference in the world.
mm. Right. And you, John, as a businessman, let's say in this case, how do you see that? You are connected to a company now that is in deep trouble. So do you see them as a business partner?
Well, it's interesting because I really didn't see them. Well, since they held the developers conference, I took more of an interest. I used to be a subscriber and stopped subscribing because I was able to use, Bard and Bing
Hmm.
seemed just as good. But when they held the developers conference and announced that people were going to be able to make these GPTs, I actually started making them. It's interesting. The weekend that Altman was fired, that day prior to him getting fired, one of the engineers at OpenAI and I got into a spat, let's say, because he'd quit, being altruistic, and he was against, a number of things I won't go into, but I basically said, get real. But, I think that's one of the problems with OpenAI is that OpenAI started off as a non-profit. And as a non-profit, you are established for the public good. And so if you look at their charter, a lot of it has to do with guarding the public from AI. And, I think there was a lot of issue as to whether that was being done. And that's always the problem with the nonprofit is that, people are altruistic and want to do good. They then formed OpenAI International, I believe it's called, which is a LP, so a limited partnership, but it has something called a capped profit structure, which means that anyone that invests in it can only get 100 times their investment. So you put $1 into it, you get
That's pretty good.
$100.
That's a pretty good turnaround.
Yeah, but that's where they're at now. But the interesting thing when one looks at this is that the majority, well, not really majority, but Microsoft owns, I think it's what, 8% of the shares of the new company, 49% of the for-profit company. And so, one of the curious things to me is that, how Altman ever got fired without Microsoft's, vote on this, unless there's some small print. But, there's also this whole revolt, again, as I say, by the employees that are, wanting, safeguards against AGI, and it's a very complicated situation. But I believe in AI in general. So if it's not OpenAI, it's going to be someone else. And now that I understand how to create these, the big advantage here is that and we'll see if the store happens, is that this will be an open system. And so, you can create, as you've done yourself, you can really create these things on a computer, but you would have to create, access, or now is being done seamlessly. So that's the big thing.
Definitely. The point, as you said, is, you're more and more getting interested into AI itself, the technology, let's say. Here, the point, in my opinion, is that OpenAI is this lighthouse company everyone is talking about. When you talk about AI topic, it's always ChatGPT, OpenAI, maybe DALL-E or whatever. So they are so much on the front, and everyone is just talking about them. There are other companies like Anthropic, for example, and there's Stability AI, those creating open source models that you can download and use them on your own PC to generate images. And now they're also having a model that will be available for creating videos. And they're also going to make sounds and so on and so on and so on. So a lot of stuff is out there, but the point is somehow you are always also getting connected to a company, and a company that is so important on this field. And well, the big question is always like, and that's why I'm not going with these companies. Like, should I put money in there? I mean, you give them money and ideas, right? You do both. You help them to grow, and you give them your ideas. And the big question is, you never know what's getting out there.
No, for sure. But, if one doesn't take, to me, it's like, so $20 a month, and the possibility that they do open the store and the possibility that, people actually think that a couple of these GPTs that I've created are cool and
Mm.
that they do follow through and come up with some way to monetize their use. I mean, this could be something absolutely huge. So, why not? I mean, that's my take on
You're
it
taking
right
the
now.
risk.
Yeah, and it's interesting though, again, because I've created, I mean, some of these I've created just for the hell of it or the fun of it or whatever, but
Mm.
some of them I've created specifically to help me do things on a day-to-day basis where, they're more focused, as I said, they know what I want. I don't have to kind of write a descriptive prompt and get it into a certain mindset. It immediately knows, yeah, this is about this particular topic and this is what we're discussing. So, plus the phone app. I mean, I think that's huge. I think it's totally huge being able to actually have a two-way conversation, with the GPT. I mean, you know, without pushing any button. Well, you have to, obviously bring the app up, but you don't have to push a button or, type in any text. You can
Powerful.
talk to, it's,
Yeah. You
This is
have to push a button anyway.
the future, man. And again, it's like you see these movies to where like I thought this technology was much farther into the future, and to see what's happening right now, this is powerful.
yeah, Chris, I don't really care about technology in terms of names and stuff like that. I mean, at one
Mhm.
point I made a big decision to go with Microsoft. This was back in the old
Mm.
days when going with Microsoft was considered to going to the dark side. But I'd struggled enough with trying to build a website that depended on Netscape servers and Netscape's middleware and an Oracle backend. And nobody would take responsibility for anything. And then Microsoft stepped in and said, we'll actually give you a couple of $1 million, which not me, but the company will get into the company as an
Right.
incentive to build this project. And, you know, many people were against it because the company was very, centric.
Mm.
But it worked out. And, to me, it's anything that works, right? So if, Anthropic or whoever, gets better and offers more functionality, offers, I mean, I think part of this is providing another creative outlet using AI, right? People are saying,
Mm.
AI is taking away, all of this stuff, it's putting people out of work. Well, no, here are special
Yeah.
GPTs that you could
Mm.
create. I mean, one of the ones that I created, for instance, is long, but I personally love bread and ice cream and shit like that, and it's just it
Mm.
doesn't work. Okay, if I eat any of that, I can put on 10 pounds in like a few days, it seems. So I need to stick to very low carb food. I struggle with it. Like, what am I going to eat?
Okay.
So I
Mm.
created this low carb recipe thing, which,
Okay.
actually has allowed me to explore. I mean, this might sound crazy, but it's like, you know, come
Hmm.
up with a meal that consists of only ground beef and cheese, right? Like
Oh,
ultimately low
okay.
carb. And it came up
Yeah.
with, it was pretty good. I mean,
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
And there you
it,
go.
it
Yeah.
specializes in that. I mean, I could have
Right.
asked GPT the same thing, but it would have come up with a whole bunch of different things. And
Oh, yeah, no, 100%. So the more curated, it made an example. And to where you're talking about taking work away from people, that was what happened when the one person I pulled the logos up, they were like, oh, graphic designers are the immediate thing. There's going to be no jobs for graphic designers. I was like, really? Because if you were a graphic designer, if you knew how to put these prompts in, this could get you you can now do 100 times more work than you were able to do before. And now you can spend more time on maybe adding some shaders, developing it, really working on the text, and maybe adding animation layers to it and everything like that. And now getting more specialized in like creating After Effects that gets merged in with that logo. So I just feel like people, instead of being upset that this stuff exists, they need to figure out how they can work with this stuff to actually make their job more efficient rather than be upset about it existing. That's my take from like observing. Some people will not be happy about that, but that's it.
Yeah, but the reality of it is that there are some people that are going to, I think if nothing else, it's going to change how things are done.
Yeah.
And certain professions are just going to maybe evolve to something else or just disappear altogether as a result. I mean, and that's happened throughout. I mean, that's the problem here. People don't seem to have any recollection of, I mean, let's go not so far back, the Industrial Revolution, right? And what that did, and printing press did. I mean, what happened to all the people that hand wrote books and stuff like that,
Yeah. Well, and I was like, I've seen recently some videos where like this person posts like he showed his work for the entire year, and it was like, I think 3 or 5 images. They looked amazing, but it's like, man, you got to get with the times, art just is, yeah, you could kind of have this as a hobby, but if you got to spend a couple hundred, hundreds of hours on bringing something into existence, like I don't like art just is not moving at that speed now. It's just not if you're looking to make money and have this as a job. Got to change with the times. That's my opinion.
Right. Okay, I think we will have to wrap it up at that point because we are over time already. That was a really interesting discussion, and I hope that some people just maybe found this idea interesting to create their own GPT, and maybe they try to hit the mark of 107 and be the next Johnny GPT or whatever. You never know. So
I wonder, I wonder if somebody's made more than John, or if John has made the most. I wonder if there's somebody that's has more than 107 right now.
You will see.
A friend of mine has a target of 100, one a day to 100. But yeah, as you say, Chris, I mean, I'm wondering if they're going to be millions.
Yeah. We definitely will see.
Oh,
all right.
goodness.
We'll see. Yeah,
So,
thank you for watching.
This is a good episode, and to wrap it up, I think it's very interesting. We're talking about this 1 year later from when it released, and where we will be at like 1 year from now when we look back on what we talked about right now and where the future is going. So thank you for joining us.
Yeah, Altman actually said something to that effect at the developers conference. I can't remember his exact words. He said that a year from now we'll look back at this and how crude it was. And anyway, so thank you. This is the Virtual Film Company. We're here twice a month on Spatial doing our technology talk show, and catch up with us on Facebook and on YouTube at Virtual Film Company, and like, subscribe, give us some love. Join us if you like. We're always looking for actors, camera people, anyone that's interested in virtual production. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. And I will put a link in to a spreadsheet with those GPTs that I have created.
Excellent.
So, cheers. Thank you.
Great.
Have a great day,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
See you next time. Bye-bye.